you're trying to lose belly fat, stop doing cardio. This sounds backwards, right? Well, believe it or not.
Hey there, Rumble viewers. Guess what we got we've got a big-ass show for you today. Huge-ass show. This is not live streamed to Rumble because right now we don't have that ability, but you can watch us live every morning, 10 a.m. Eastern. Mug Club, there's an extent, but it's going exclusive. This free content right now is not on YouTube. It's just here on Rumble, and it will be available on Rumble even when we're back on YouTube because, they don't kick us off for saying that police have the right to defend themselves when being stabbed.
Louder with Crowder is brought to you in part by .com. Head over to the shop, support the fight, and buy some cool threads. It's the Tits Pajamas. .com.
Too hot.
No, you're gonna get mouth cancer.
Too hot.
Esophageal.
Wrong cup. Yeah.
And there's a piece of ginger in it still.
Oh, good.
Gross.
That was a horrible
Welcome back.
first one. Hold on a second. Let me get my crack cocaine.
Jeez. Oh, well, yeah.
You guys ever use these Oba sticks?
No.
It's basically just like menthol and peppermint, and it just clears your nasal passages right out.
Really?
Snorting stuff.
I feel like I could smear myself in my own defecation and take on some police officers covered in glass. It's like PCP.
Yeah, that's a bad idea.
We have a lot to get to today.
Hardcore.
Thank you to people who are watching right now. They're obviously live here on Mug Club.
Yeah.
The Blaze. Thank you.
Boom.
We love you. And if you're watching at loudandclear.com/live, it'll reroute here to Mug Club. And then you may be watching this in the archive at Rumble, because Rumble doesn't let us stream and then archive. But thank you, Rumble, for the support. We have Josh Rosenberg.
Joel C. Rosenberg. You did that on purpose
Joel
just to mess with
C.
me.
Rosenberg.
Incredible guy.
It's a Jewish name, folks.
Oh, stop.
He's going to be talking about Israel and Gaza and Palestine going on.
That's good.
We have some news here with the Brown shooting that happened in North Carolina.
Yeah.
And we also have some news about Rashida Tlaib and why she's the worst person
Possibly.
to have ever walked our halls of representation. What else?
That's saying something. That
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah, we really have a lot to get to. All right, Gerald A. is here. How are you, sir?
I am well. Are you feeling better today?
Hey, what's that shirt you're
Oh,
wearing?
look at that. Look at this. It's like...
That's a fresh
This
shirt.
is you.
This claim is disputed,
Yeah, it really is.
like all my claims.
Pretty much.
Well,
As
good.
well they should be.
Yeah, I'm glad you're doing well. And Quarterback Garrett, how are you?
What's going on?
Step it.
Try.
Step it now. That didn't sound. That sounded like a.
It's a little older.
Sounded like a mechanic in an Arkansas backyard. What's going on?
Sounds like
Does my sister look good to you? She looks good to me.
somebody who invested in Doge over there.
Hey.
That's what it sounds like.
Diamond
Dave
hands, bro.
Landau is here. Thanks for filling in yesterday. I was
Boy.
so sick. I sounded like death warmed over, and you could hear I'm still a little bit sick. But sometimes my wife thinks that my low sick voice sounds sexy.
It was my pleasure.
It's a little bit of a Sam Elliott. It's beef. It's what's for dinner.
A man
I like your
never
shirts.
alone as long
Oh,
as
yeah.
he's got his morals.
Finnegan, you have a show coming up.
I do this weekend. You can see me at the Funny Bone in Perrysburg, Ohio, which is Toledo but nicer.
That's
You've made it.
Yep.
Why do we
big
promote
time.
his shows? He's sold out.
Yeah,
like
I know.
forever.
Not yet.
Good luck.
Not
getting
yet
tickets.
here.
Well, not now because we're not available to stream on a lot of these other platforms. But you can bring it up. People who are watching right now, if you want to take it with you on the go, you can always subscribe to the audio version too. On iTunes, Apple, Android, Spotify.
All those places.
And we may be able to at some point do video on Spotify. Don't know. But like Rogan does.
There you go.
It's kind of, Spotify it's still kind of like the elephant boneyard for video content.
Yes.
But we're holding out. Okay. So,
Can you imagine how they would flip out over you if they think Joe Rogan's controversial?
yeah.
You say,
It's true.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good at being dumb and moderate.
I can do that.
Hold on to your butts. So at least you don't have
Drink
someone coming on there talking, advocating that kids take hallucinogenic mushrooms.
Yeah. You should drink your own urine.
It's like,
It's still
I can't
got
believe that
nutrients.
Steven says that officers who shoot people who are in the middle of stabbing is allowed on the platform. It's like, listen, you got to take DMT so that you can talk to the Keebler elves. Yeah, that's good enough. That
Sounds like our
muster.
content.
I gotta say, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I'm okay with all of it.
Yeah, I think giving kids magic mushrooms is pretty cool.
I mean, I'm okay with them saying it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, no, not if they're advocating it for
I
children.
mean, if I'm being
No.
serious, no.
Yes, if I'm being serious, no. But kind of.
But when you're 16, I think you should.
No, stop. Hold on a
Give
second,
her
hold on a
the
second,
buzzer.
hold on a second. There's a dead person on CNN right now.
That's talking.
Oh, she's a representative.
No, that's a witch.
Something
Oh,
needs to be
no.
looked at by now.
Oh, she's the one who got boycotted by the Limb Different community. Okay.
Is she? Oh, no.
I represent my constituents.
Is that a light bulb out?
What?
Looks like she's wearing light bulbs.
Yeah,
I can't
it's-
see
She's
it.
wearing stars.
She goes to Hogwarts.
Oh.
She goes to, yes, she goes.
Slytherin. Okay.
Boy, that's the sweater you buy when you know nobody wants to have sex with you.
You just settle.
Or if you want to guarantee that nobody wants to fuck you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's in a loveless marriage, and she's like, "Hey, sweetie, do I look okay?" And puts on that sweater.
I'm locking in my bets.
Direct hit. Hey, what state is this? Martin County. I know I was asking this just the first thing we're going to run.
Martin County.
Martin County.
Let me check. Sorry, I thought you
Okay.
were asking for Mark.
No, I was asking for the. So this is something I just wanted to introduce with just a little bit of silver lining because some people feel hopeless. Don't feel hopeless. Look to the children in a Martin County school board meeting. I don't know which state this.
I think it's
was.
Florida.
Florida. Well, good.
Florida.
Florida man, bad Florida boy, fantastic.
Florida man's great.
This fourth grade boy had the guts to say, well, really what the CDC is saying now, but what adults should have been able to say and should have had the guts to say a while ago. This kid is awesome. Watch.
I love my school and all, but my teachers seem really stressed, and that makes me feel bad. One teacher walks around with a clipboard full of referrals for any student whose mask isn't on properly. It makes me feel scared. That same teacher yells at us having our mask down to drink water while we are outside in car line. She told us we had to wait until we were in our parents' car to have a drink of water. She had her mask down the entire time while she was yelling at us, which makes me and all my friends very mad. This happens a lot. And it seems unfair teachers take their masks off while they yell at us kids and that we need to pull ours up. I asked my mom if there's a word for this, and she said there is. Hypocrisy.
Good for you. I love you know what I
Damn
love about
right.
that little kid. It wasn't like we always say Greta. Greta Thunberg was 17, by the way. She was
Right.
just below the cutoff. She
She
just looked like she was
really
fourth grade.
young, yeah.
This kid is talking in fourth grade language. You know what I mean, this is clearly something he wrote, and he's just talking about his conversation that he had with his mom. His mom said, "You know what? You should go and talk about that." He's
Yeah,
not saying
yeah.
like, "When you look at the scientific data,"
Right,
He's,
yeah.
he's like, "My teacher is a dum dum."
Yeah.
And you're
It's
like,
not
yes.
Doogie Howser.
Right.
He's just being honest.
He's just
Yeah.
being
I
honest.
thought it
Yells
was
at-
funny that she pulled her mask down to yell at all
Sounds
of us.
like Linus. Can anyone tell me what these masks are all about? Sure, Charlie Brown. Dr. Fauci was born in the making. An angel said he should be assigned on to you. And then all of our rights were stripped away due to unscientific data and unreliable information that they changed at the drop of a hat. And that's what removed all of our livelihoods, our ability to socialize, and even 3- and 4-year-olds who are at statistical no risk of COVID infection or death compared to that of the standard flu, and we lost all of our civil rights. And that's what COVID's all about, Charlie Brown. Oh, brother!
We had to get the great pumpkin out of office. Now we have a moron.
The great turnip.
And then the vice president was
Downgrade.
Lucy. And Charlie, she still keeps pulling that shit with the football.
Never stop.
The way they treated Charlie Brown, you always wonder why that
Yeah.
kid didn't just shoot up the school.
Well, I think
Yeah.
if it was more popular in those days, he would have taken out all the peanuts.
Oh my gosh.
Just dancing with his head in the air the way they do. Everybody else is just corpses.
Charlie Brown, like, it wasn't the kids were mean to him.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
parents were mean to him. He
Everybody.
got rocks for Halloween.
Yeah, that's
And how
pretty
cool
messed
are
up.
these parents? They're like, all right, okay, look, we're going to put out the candy. We're going to put out, and then, no, that's the Charlie Brown pile. He gets rocks. Why? Well, because we know the other kids don't like him. We want to make sure that he feels entirely isolated, so we push him to the fringe. That way he comes in with an actual fully automatic weapon, and we can push for gun control. Oh, well, that makes sense. Oh, brother. You're such
Yeah.
a blockhead, Charlie Brown.
You sound like
He also
Mom.
had
Cell.
pretty aggressive cancer that nobody addressed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Entire time.
But actually, it wasn't. That was a special. You have progeria, Charlie Brown.
Yeah,
So-
one hair. One hair.
Once better than none, Dave.
First the football, then the chemo leaves me with one strand. Oh, brother, everything I touch turns to ruins.
Well, that's because your killer cell is down. Your killer T4 cell is non-existent, Charlie Brown.
I don't know what that means, but I have no appetite.
My dog has PTSD from kamikaze.
Yes. He was a bomb-sniffing dog. He was hoping that he'd be a drug-sniffing dog, but he was a bomb-sniffing dog.
See, that's...
All right, so just a silver lining. I love that kid, and I don't like using kids as political pawns. And I just thought that was an example. That kid was genuine.
Yeah.
Look, you're going to tell me that most kids aren't pissed off that they can't play in the yard without masks? And now there are still some states. By the way, hey, when are these people going to be removed? The blue states who are not following CDC guidance at this point.
Yeah.
And they're still keeping mask mandates. What?
That's going.
Is YouTube going to fact check that?
Yeah. They should be pulled down, I think.
Ours was for going on CDC guidance by quoting the CDC from months ago,
which is weird.
and weeks ago, and right now they're following guidance from months ago against current guidelines from the CDC. Huh. What happened to following the science? By the way, the science means follow the Fauci, follow the Fauci. Yep. All right, follow the yellow brick Fauci. So, this was another story we have to get to here. Last month, Andrew Brown Jr., and I know I have to sort of recap it because these sort of bleed together now. They're pretty tough. Do you find it hard to keep track of the names?
Yes.
So you're looking at the map, don't you?
I'm not.
You looking at yourself on the monitor like Oprah or Gail King?
Yep. All I want to do is see this.
Yeah.
Well, hey, baby.
Yeah.
Detroit
How you
police.
doing?
Yeah, that'll go over well.
What? Well, it's the RoboCop.
We'll go back through your wardrobe once we get back on YouTube.
Why? It's RoboCop.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
You know what's ironic about RoboCop? They shot RoboCop. The first one was set in Dallas.
Yeah.
They shot it in Detroit. The new one was set in Detroit. They shot it in Dallas.
Well, I thought they shot the original in Dallas.
Oh, yeah, the opposite. I switched it. But the point is, Detroit's a hellhole.
Yes.
Well, we need to create a post-apocalyptic world. Let's just go to downtown Detroit. How are we going to do it? There's Tiger Stadium in the shot. Just go 4 blocks in any other direction.
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah.
We're going to film Transformers there when we also need an apocalyptic hellhole and destroy buildings.
Yeah.
The whole marketing campaign.
And we're going to make Mark Wahlberg's call time 4 hours before the crew, just so he can be there with the crackheads and watch the sunrise.
There you go.
Hey, look, there's no craft services table here, okay? What's happening? I'm here in the city. This doesn't seem like a city. It's nothing but crackheads and potholes, and I don't have a crepe table. What's going on?
Stop Asian hate.
Detroit, get your act together, okay? If I was running Detroit, it wouldn't be like that, all right? Okay.
And then he just hits himself in the chest until there's a bruise and blames your dad.
Yes. Or he commits an anti-Asian hate crime. We forgot about that one really quickly. Remember? Mark Wahlberg. Anti-Asian hate crime.
Mark took out a man's eye.
Yeah, he was.
What?
No, that's what.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
true story.
True story. Anti-Asian hate crimes. Marky Mark.
He took out a man's eye?
That's correct.
Yep.
He
How
blinded
so?
a dude.
Yeah.
How do you think you take out one's
How
eye?
did he punch him? Did he get a spoon?
Stomped
What?
him.
Really?
Stomped him.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Hey, look. It was a different time, okay?
Yeah.
We didn't trust the Chinaman back then, all right? You can't judge me today on the morals we have today and the day of the past. Back then, it was okay to kick a Chinaman. That's what we did.
No, still a hate crime, Mark.
Do you know that he had to be tied to a chair for the first 3 weeks of COVID?
Let me at him.
He was trying to go. He's like, see, I told you.
I told him, if they tie me down to my chair with fresh ropes, I'll be as weak as any other man, okay? Delilah, why are you sitting down? Of course I don't trust you, okay? I woke up, I was down with fresh ropes. You're the only one I told, all right? Okay, so Andrew Brown, he was a man who was shot in Elizabeth City.
Right.
North Carolina. And this is where people were saying that it was an execution.
Yeah, shot in the back of the head.
Shot in the back of the head. Of course, damage was done. Of course, the media ran with it. Not as they didn't sort of pull it back like they did with Ma'Khia Bryant because of the stabbing. They realized that wouldn't necessarily play well. This is something that you need to notice as a pattern. When there's an absence of information, they always run, meaning the media, they always run with it as fast and as far as they can to get as much mileage out of it, because once the information surfaces, then they just go silent. No one holds them accountable.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter that they don't have the truth. That's actually a good thing. That's a good thing. It's a good thing that they're in the dark at that point. And you don't have the information because they can create any narrative they want. They can show you any protesters they want, any family members they want, because they know when the truth comes out, they're just not going to cover it.
Yep.
That's what you need to understand. It's not just Brian Stelter and Rachel. That's why I don't have a problem with Rachel Maddow. You know where she's coming from.
Right, yeah.
But when Don Lemon, between sobbing and changing the name of the show and making some dramatic announcement that he's changing it because they moved a couple of vowels around, they are trying to present themselves as news anchors. We now have information, and this is what we suspected the information to be, but we didn't have access to the actual camera footage. So yesterday, part of the body camera footage was released for the first time to the public. And keep in mind, this was the footage that the family said they had seen, and it was an execution, and the media ran with it. So this is the footage that they saw. This is what matters. They saw this and said, it was an execution. He was shot back in the head style. Okay. District Attorney Andrew Womble, of course, has now said that the shooting is, oh, look, they're showing it on CNN right now. Right now they're talking about it. This is the first time they've talked about it this morning. Okay, let's see what they say about it on CNN. And I'm going to get into some info. Let's see what they say.
Shots were fired. District Attorney Andrew Womble says that encounter you saw there between Brown and deputies lasted just 44 seconds. Here's how he described what led up to the moment.
Okay, good. So let's just have him shut up and we'll show you exactly what he said. And then I'll go back to, remind me, guys, I want to go back to CNN's opinion and see what they express here. And see if they show the kind of coverage that we have here in a montage that they were running for weeks on end. This is the District Attorney, Womble, saying the shooting was justified, along with, I warn you, footage of the shooting. You don't see anything directly graphic, but of course it is the actual police officers, I don't want to say shooting, engaging in their job, protecting civilian life. Here you go.
After reviewing the investigation conducted by the North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation, Mr. Brown's death, while tragic, was justified because Mr. Brown's actions caused 3 deputies with the Pasquotank County Sheriff's Office to reasonably believe it was necessary to use deadly force to protect themselves and others. In the early months of this year, Detective Johnson with the Dare County Sheriff's Office received information from a reliable confidential source that Andrew Brown Jr. from Elizabeth City was selling drugs in Dare County. Upon learning this information, Detective Johnson with the aid of the confidential informant made 2 undercover buys from Brown on March 17th, 2021 and March 29th, 2021. Those buys were of cocaine and heroin, respectively. A later SBI lab analysis determined that the heroin was laced with fentanyl.
Here you go. This is when they get off their police truck. For those who are watching, they're saying, get out of the car, right? This is where the execution would have happened when it said Brown, boom, backs up, hits an officer there, takes a wide turn to hit that officer, and now they shoot. Now, keep in mind, he didn't have to take that. That was a deliberate wide turn to hit that officer, right? That was a turn around, hit the officer. It's directly in line with what the police said. He had backed up, then gone forward, and actually touched officers. Let's see what they're saying right now and see. Hold that thought, Gerald. Let's see what this, what the Turtle Club gentleman is saying.
It's Frozen. Turtle Club, the edit bay just said that he's Anthony Barksdale, the law enforcement analyst for CNN, and he said that the DA's take is disturbing and allows more citizens to be shot by police.
Really? Jeez. All right, let's see. Hold on. CNN is frozen for a second because apparently when we're not on YouTube, nothing actually works here.
Is that Clarence Carter?
I don't know. Wait, who's Clarence Carter?
He was stroking too.
Now they're they're asking him about actively resisting arrest.
Okay. Well, bring it up as soon as it starts actually playing. Gerald, you had a point you were about to make.
Remember what they said when this first came out? That he was sitting in his car with his hands on the steering wheel. He wasn't reaching for anything, and officers shot him from behind. So this was the narrative that was pushed even after the family saw the video and came out. I remember seeing his son, which was terribly tragic for his dad to be killed like that, right? But
of course.
His dad obviously had a big part to play in that, according to the DA and according to this video. To see that. Well, yeah, why aren't you blaming your father for trying to run police officers over?
No kid should also have to live in a heroin and crack den.
No, I agree. All of these things are bad things. Like, it's like, why aren't you blaming your father for creating this situation? Why are you only saying that the police were wrong? And why are you trying to frame it like he was sitting in his car and they had him blocked in? That's what we heard. They had him blocked in.
As a matter of fact, now you bring just for people who've forgotten, right? And we're going to try and bring up CNN right now because they're going to try and reiterate this narrative.
Yeah.
For people who've forgotten, now you just saw the video footage. You know more context. This is what CNN and the mainstream media was running for days on end. Don't forget.
Do you feel like this is an attempt at a cover-up? I've never heard of a video being redacted before even the family could see it.
Just sit on your hands of hate, sir.
To you.
This is something that cannot stand and it won't stand. And we must put pressure on the sheriff and the DA. The killers should be brought to justice. And they will be.
Tonight, new video emerged showing some of the final moments before Andrew Brown Jr. was killed during an encounter with law enforcement.
But you need to talk about the assassination.
concluding he was assassinated by deputies.
It was a kill shot to the back of the head.
And that's at the former police chief's house. Yeah. Okay. After this DA came out. Remember he resigned? Right.
Some of the kids riding on the lawn in dirt bikes.
So terrible.
What are those little Lost Boys vampires?
It's kind of funny.
Sister, don't cry.
The kid there, he saw it, he just died laughing. He starts falling down almost.
Oh my gosh, the kids
I
are
got my
riding
bird
dirt
scooter.
bikes around.
Yeah.
It was like Lost Boys.
I hate it.
I can't. This is what they were running for. So CNN
That's
is still
a
frozen.
crime.
What is going on with CNN today? It's
I
completely frozen. What were we about to say there, Dave?
It's a crime in and of itself to destroy a man's
To
property.
destroy a man's property.
Hey, CNN is trying to confuse the audience. Like, you said that you get confused with, like, okay, which shooting is which.
Right, yeah.
Now they're talking about Dante Wright. They're just kind of talking about race. Poppy Harlow asked why the police had long guns. She said, I get there was a warrant, but this is not how everyone with an outstanding warrant is treated.
No, it's how someone with an outstanding warrant who repeatedly deals drugs and violently resists arrest is treated.
Yeah.
And you know what? It wasn't ill-founded, considering that at this point where they were trying to arrest him, he decided to back up, hit a man, go forward, wide turn, hit a man, and try and get away.
Yeah, they weren't wrong. And by the way, when is having a gun that maybe is a little bit more accurate and easier to use in a confrontation a bad thing to have? What do you need to have, like a musket? Like, oh, you get one shot if you miss.
No. This comes from people, again, who don't understand. Look, anyone out there who's never fired a gun, go to a shooting range, okay, use a rifle, then use a handgun.
Yeah.
See how much easier it is to hit a target, regardless of caliber.
Yeah.
That allows you to avoid civilian casualties.
Yeah.
So if you're going into a situation, particularly like if you look at SWAT teams, for example,
Yeah.
that's where they'll often use sort of pistol caliber carbines. You guys have all seen the MP5, right? They don't all use that, but the point is they use lighter caliber, longer rifles so they can stabilize it because they're going into a house and they want to avoid innocent casualties, which we'll get to in a second. You know, civilian casualties, or as Hamas calls, a victory lap.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is why. The reason, if you want to reduce danger to civilians, you want to reduce civilian casualties, you want police officers to have long guns.
Yeah.
For the same reason that you don't want them to have bow and arrows. You want them to have a tool that can be as precise as possible to mitigate as much damage as possible to anyone who isn't involved with the crime. Namely, at this point, trying to run over police officers.
Yeah,
But they're
absolutely.
scary.
And it's much more. I think that's a good point.
They're
They
long
are
and
much
scary.
more intimidating showing up in that kind of quote unquote tactical gear. Like, you want them to think, hey, we're here, we mean business, don't screw around. That's exactly what you want the perp to go, okay, sorry, okay, take me in.
Right.
That's exactly what you want.
I'd like to see more bow and arrows.
That would be interesting.
Bows
I'd like to see more constables like the Untouchables, Sean Connery with a billy club.
I loved it.
Oh, is this man doing crack here? I think he's going to have a visit from the old truancy club. It has a little switch on the back, just in case I want to discipline you like my wife. Listen, I'm not advocating for beating women, but I think if you've given her the last word, she's not satisfied with the last word, wants to ascertain knowledge to push it to a position that is rather provocative, then I think it's absolutely right.
Fitter for a pair of Irish.
Verbatim.
That's verbatim. Did you see that interview with Sean Connery and Barbara Walters?
Best, yeah.
She's like, do you remember when you said it was okay to hit a woman? Yes.
Yes.
Do you regret that?
I
Not
do,
at all.
yes.
Not at all.
No.
Okay. Back down. And it turns out he didn't hit, he had like 19
No,
ex-wives.
he
Never hit any of them.
No.
He just wanted to keep the nuclear option on the table.
The threat. He's got to be an intimidating guy. Anytime you talk to him, you think that guy could strike me at any moment.
Yeah.
Listen, you know that I still have the 3 HPPKs from the James Bond shoot. It's like throwing a brick through a plate glass window. Or your face.
It's just, really, Sean Connery. Anyway, love it. Sorry, I get off track.
No, I'm a huge fan.
I'm not a huge fan.
Is he
but-
dead?
Is he dead?
He
No.
died, didn't he, recently? Yeah.
Yeah, he was a good.
COVID, yeah.
Was it COVID?
No.
It was during.
It was a
It was
vaccine.
during COVID.
Joking. Kidding. Not saying it was a vaccine. Of course, no one has had any negative side effects from the
It was
vaccine.
killing
Not at all.
terrorists at the Rock.
All right. Speaking of terrorists, so I'm a little distracted right now because we're trying to get CNN up and working.
Yeah, they moved on. They moved on to Israel.
Oh, good. They moved on to vilifying Israel. Fantastic. Let's move on to Israel. So this was happening in your neck of the woods there, Dave Landau.
Yes?
What are you're looking at the ceiling
Yeah, he
like, what
was
is
a little off.
Because I'm trying to do it so you don't think I'm looking at this.
Well, just look at me.
Why do I always gotta look at you?
Because
this?
You can't look at me, Dave.
It just makes me feel self-conscious. Hold on a second.
I was looking at the street.
Something up.
I couldn't tell when to look at you.
Is that a tear?
Wow.
Tears?
That's my coffee.
It's a spittoon. I'm at the phase of my sickness where it's like everything's hacking out.
Yeah.
Sexy.
Man, the drain.
So this is in Dearborn, Michigan. Yesterday.
Is that a known area?
It's a known area.
Oh,
yeah.
Dearbornistan.
It's known because the second you land in a plane, you drive to Dearborn, you hear. Actually, surprisingly, that's Hamtramck. Hamtramck is the one place in the United States where you can hear the Muslim call to prayer.
Really?
And the old Polacks there are not happy with it.
I was gonna say they're just eating duck blood soup. Like here it goes again.
Jeez.
Duck blood soup, by the way, is great.
I've heard.
Anthony Bourdain, you're not the only one that ate it. He acted like it was such a crazy thing.
Well, he made money eating it. Did you, Dave?
Yeah. Well, you know what?
Yeah. Let's compare who's doing better right now.
Yesterday, former Vice President Joe Biden visited Dearborn, Michigan, right? And he was met with pro-Palestinian protests.
Right.
And these people were angered by Biden administration continuing the funding, any funding at all of Israel. So this was all over Twitter. It was trending. They were saying, hey, let's get ready. There were the Black Lives Matter people, Antifa. They were saying, let's get ready to protest the former Vice President landing here. And we actually have footage of them. We have exclusive footage of the preparation behind the scenes for their anti-Israel protest.
Welcome, man. Where live up? What's up? Where live up?
I love how he just gives up.
Crawls out of the room.
I don't know.
That's not a man you want in your foxhole.
No. So have you been where he lives? It's all a foxhole.
It is all a foxhole.
Rifle 1, scientist 0.
I'm old enough to remember when the signs were in English.
Yeah.
That's a long time ago.
That was a long time ago. So in Dearborn, Michigan, and of course Rashida Tlaib was there.
Yeah.
And we'll get into, she's a representative there from Michigan. We'll get into some of her most radical anti-Semitic tweets. The kind of comments that she has made that would absolutely result in our immediate ban from social media platforms. When we talk about you don't want to attribute motive, you don't want to ascribe hate, you just want to take people at face value. Yeah. When you take Rashida Tlaib's comments at face value, they are hateful and murderous.
Yes.
Let's be really clear about that. She doesn't like Jews. She doesn't believe that Israel has the right to exist, and we'll also get into her comments about she doesn't believe that police should exist, nor prisons.
Oh, yeah.
So people will say, well, this is just a fringe. You know what I mean? Like there's left and there's right, and you can always take the fringe examples. Well, she was there at this protest, and former Vice President Joe Biden aligned himself with her and addressed her specifically as a friend. There you go.
I tell you what, Rashid, I want to say to you that I admire your intellect, I admire your passion, and I admire your concern for so many other people. And it's from my heart, I pray that your grandmom and family are well. I promise you I'm going to do everything to see that they are on the West Bank. You're a fighter, and God, thank you for being a fighter.
Oh, okay. She's a fighter. For what?
A freedom fighter.
This is stuff people just throw out there, like, you're a fighter. Well, if you're fighting, right, you're a fighter, what does a fighter do?
Yeah. Fights.
So that would mean a fight is what? What is a fight? Let's break this down. Let's be reductive, because sometimes that's valuable. What's a fight? Is everyone in this room retarded? What's going on here?
No, what do you mean?
What is a fight?
A fight? Two people punching.
Two sides, opponents.
Unless
right?
Sean Connery,
fighting.
It's one person punching.
Oh, is that not, that's turkey pastrami. Looks like someone's in the mood to role play as a plate glass window.
Oh, this is room temperature.
Room temperature, I see. That's for my hot toddy. Room temperature, which you'll be assuming in a moment.
Like
only a moment's time.
You're almost like
Junior.
Bane Sean Connery over here.
So, a fight is two people, two adversaries, two groups, can be two factions, warring against each other.
Yeah.
Combatants, fighting against each other. So Rashida Tlaib is a fighter. Okay, let's go with that. Who's her opponent? What is she fighting for? It's very clear if you're in the octagon, you're fighting for a victory. How? What is a victory? Well, a knockout, a submission, maybe a referee's decision. If you're fighting a war, what is a victory? Either peace, or if you're, back in colonial times, all of their resources, right? You conquer these people, they now have to erect your flag, or in the case of the United States, basically we give them back their land and ask for nothing more than the land in which to bury our dead who gave them those freedoms. But I digress. The point is, with a fight, you have people, groups who are fighting, and there is an objective. So if Rashida Tlaib is a fighter, okay, who is she fighting? What is her objective?
For her own religion, she's fighting everybody else. And if you want me to be, that's me being brutally honest.
Absolutely.
And she can't be part of that religion and believe anything else.
Right.
And for her people to be angry at Biden right now, it's like she's a large reason why he got elected, but that to her was only one move in the right direction that only benefits her exact kind.
No, that's exactly right. And people don't want to talk about this, but if you talk about Islam and the difference between Christianity, between Judaism, even the ones that I think are silly, like Scientology, or the difference is they don't say, look, there are three, according to their book, a political prescription is, all right, either conversion, subjection to dimitude, which means a second-class citizen, or death. That's it. There are no other options. That is what Islam prescribes. Let's be really clear about it.
Yeah, and it's not like they're going out and saying, hey, go out and try and convert the Jews over to our religion and do it in a way that is, winsome, right? They're saying, actually, why don't you just kill the Jews? That seems like a good place to start.
Well, this also goes, they'll say, there's nowhere in the book does it say, Muslims will say this, and Rashida Tlaib, they'll get a little bit clever with the wordplay, and they'll say, well, nowhere in our book does it say to kill the Jews. We're not saying in the book says kill the Jews, those are Muhammad's last words, but some of you now say we throw out hadith even though you used it for all your teachings, and you had to, okay, fine. So let's throw out the exact words of Muhammad calling to kill Christians and Jews. Let's just look, what do you think will happen if your entire religion, Islam, is predicated on the idea that, well, we use the Old Testament and the New Testament, but we also use the Quran because the Old Testament and the New Testament are entirely corrupt after the blessing of Abraham. Why? Because the Jews lied about it all. That's the premise of Islam. That's what you want to know why Muslims don't really like the Jews? Because they believe that they lied about the blessing of Abraham, that it was, they believe it was Ishmael?
Ishmael,
yeah. They believe it was Ishmael. It was a lie, and therefore the Jews were given all this wealth, all this power that was ill-gotten gain, and they need to correct it. So they'll say they use the book, and they'll say we refer to the Jews as the people of the book. But the problem is they lied about everything, and they fooled the world. That is the teaching of Islam. Again, that is very different from Christianity, who says, Jesus who says, some people have turned away from me. Some people have rejected me. Some people will reject you as they have rejected me. It's not, hey, by the way, everyone's a liar, and you have to subject them to dimitude, to second-class citizenry, which means a curfew, which means paying a poll tax, or kill them. This is part of the prescriptive teaching of Islam, and you need to understand that that is at the center of what we're going to talk about with Israel and Hamas and Palestine. Let's go to Rashida Tlaib. What she has tweeted. She has tweeted out, apartheid and Chief Netanyahu will not listen to anyone asking nicely. He commits war crimes and openly violates international law. This is the fighter Joe Biden praises. Yeah. So long as he, Anthony Blinken, doesn't suppress my First Amendment right to speak out against Netanyahu's racist and inhumane policies. Apartheid states aren't democracies. And then she goes on to police, just to give you an idea as to how radical she is. Similar views, though, very congruent. Policing in our country is inherently and intentionally racist. Daunte Wright was met with aggression and violence. I am done with those who condone government-funded murder. No more policing, no more incarceration or militarization. It cannot be reformed. Now, let's go to these are some of the things that she's tweeted. All of our sources, of course, are available at LidorsCrowder.com. You can read these for yourselves before she removes them. By the way, I don't know if you know this, Rashida Tlaib blocked me.
What? Really?
On Twitter, and then we sent a legal letter of cease and desist, and she immediately had to unblock me. Because remember, Donald Trump couldn't block people on his Facebook page. Right. It was considered a violation of First Amendment. Not a violation of First Amendment to remove the sitting president. Right. But we said, oh, well, Rashida Tlaib, I don't want to do this, but we're going to sue you. Because I'm from Michigan, and you can't block your constituents. You're not allowed to do that. So it's like, unblock. Okay. So on a podcast called Skullduggery, fitting, Rashida claimed, here's what she said about the Holocaust. She said that it gave her a calming feeling. Now, I know at first glance that sounds bad.
Or at any glance.
Yes.
Yeah, even after glance.
Even if you not only glance, but look through it like a magic eye poster. And I don't know, is it popping out? What is it? Cups, right? If you try and look at this statement of hers like a magic eye poster, give it context, it doesn't get any better. Oh, no. Here's the clip.
And there's a kind of a calming feeling I always tell folks when I think of the Holocaust and the tragedy of the Holocaust.
Wow.
And the fact that it was my ancestors, Palestinians, who lost their land and some lost their lives, their livelihood, the human dignity, their existence in many ways have been wiped out, and some people's passport. I mean, just all of it was in the name of trying to create a safe haven for Jews.
Wow.
Everything that woman just said is bullshit.
Everything that guy just says is bullshit.
Okay? Listen, she says, first off, she tries to walk it back. She goes, it gives me a sense of peace.
Yeah.
And then she tries to say, but all the lives lost. She's not actually pro-Israel. We're talking about Israel actually being granted by the UN after World War II some place to go where they won't be facing extermination. Because she's trying to say, it gives me peace. Well, that would mean, it gives me peace to think that the Palestinian people willingly gave up this space so that they could have a safe haven because they weren't really a country anyway at any point, Palestine. But instead she's saying, it gives me a sense of peace that goes down through the laundry list of war crimes. She doesn't believe that Israel has a right to exist. The Holocaust gives her peace because the Holocaust gives her peace. There's no way to try and take that word salad and interpret it as anything other than not only anti-Israel, but anti-Semitic, especially if you look at where she lines up today with Hamas.
And she sounds bitter. She's like, it's this stupid Holocaust thing, and now they gotta, like, protect the Jews.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Do you realize what you just said? 6 million people killed, just Jews alone, another 6 million outside of that, and you're complaining that they need a safe haven.
She's pulling Mean Girls. Like, stop trying to make Jews a thing, okay?
Right, yeah.
It's never going to be a thing.
Jeez. Yeah.
What? What were we going to say there, Dave?
No, it's just she's only being this tactful because she's in American politics.
Right. Yeah.
That's her gently explaining her opinion.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So imagine what she really thinks.
Yeah. That she goes to sleep to alpha brain sound waves, calming sounds of the Holocaust.
Yeah. And I love how she always...
The white noisemaker of Schindler's List.
Yeah. Just Ben Shapiro at 4 playing the violin.
Yeah, exactly. I love how they want to go back, and I'm not going to go too deep into this, but they want to go back to 1948. Okay, fine. Look, I get that you want to go back and say, who's this ancestral homeland really belong to? How about let's go 2,000 years before that?
Right.
I think they can lay a claim that's earlier than yours, but I'm just guessing. Okay?
Yeah.
Come on, guys. Make a better argument.
Well, and we'll get into Israel in a little bit here with Trevor Noah because it is the single worst
it's terrible.
take on Israel. And for some reason, it's been pumped up to the YouTube numbers to like 5 million views, but you look at the interactions, they're not nearly as high. Again, we've always talked about this. But before we move on to that, again, this is important. This is the former Vice President of the United States. You look at where he stands on Israel. You look at the comparison to Donald Trump. You look at what the Israeli government, what the Israeli people have said. It's very easy to see why Middle East is on the verge of serious conflict. And I don't just mean Israel and Hamas at this point. When asked if he would comment on Israel, former Vice President Joe Biden actually instead decided to joke about running over reporters while trying out this electric truck.
Okay, I'm just going to step on it. I'll come off at 80 miles an hour. You'll see what it is, okay? You ready?
Mr. President, can I ask you a quick question on Israel before you drive
No,
away?
you can't. I'll not let you get in front of the car as I step on it. I'm not teasing. Okay, here we go. You ready?
Yes, sir.
You ready?
It's the world's fastest dimension.
Yeah,
He found the gas pedal, guys.
Just go
He
sideways.
didn't answer the important question.
Yeah.
And yay.
And actually, by the way, just really quickly before the situation got worse when Biden refused to return the vehicle. You know.
Wow. Didn't. Wow. Yeah.
You don't let him get behind the wheel.
Sad, yeah.
If only for the cataracts.
I think he was like pushing the gas, like, this thing's not going. Sir, it's on the right, sir.
I'm not hearing it. How do I clutch? It's electric, sir.
What is that?
What?
This brake thing.
So the car is a lady?
Hey, for the CNN stream, we're probably not going to have that back. Tim is still working on it, but we've been having some internet issues.
Okay.
The stream is going out to Blaze, so we're good there.
Okay.
I also do have a quick fact check for you,
Oh.
Angela. So I had thought for quite a while that Mark Wahlberg did take out that guy's eye.
Yeah.
That's actually not true. So it is true that Mark Wahlberg beat up an Asian guy. That is true.
Well, dang it.
He beat the hell out of him, but actually, the guy served in Vietnam alongside U.S. forces, fighting the commies, and he lost his left eye fighting the war.
That's what I was telling you, okay? Yeah, sure, I curb stomped him, but I didn't take out his eye, all right? It was already gone. Wasn't me. I couldn't take out his eye. I couldn't even find it, okay? Listen, that's a problem. I'm reformed, but the eyes are so narrow, I wasn't able to aim properly. Listen, I'm saying it's beautiful. I'm saying it's beautiful. They have beautiful, wonderful, slanty eyes, okay? I won't commit any more crimes against them, all right?
No, that's not enough, Mark.
Boy, you do not want a one-eyed Asian guy in your fuck. Yeah, I'd like to apologize to Mark Wahlberg for
I would like to apologize
for accidentally curb stomping a one-eyed veteran. My mistake.
Right, yeah.
It would be better if he did take out his eye.
He actually had a list
worse
of one-eyed Asians.
Yeah.
He's like, look, I want a list of one-eyed Asians, specifically those who don't have the left, so I know that I can come up on the strong side, okay? I don't want to have any Asians. I don't want to have any Chinamen, okay, who are missing the right eye because then I'm going to come up on the wrong side. They'll still see me coming, all right? Find me a vet who has no left eye. Then I'll show you Mark Wahlberg really is, okay?
Jeez.
It's not going to go down like that.
Worse.
Wow, I honestly thought he took out the guy's eye. I'm surprised.
Yeah, no, he targeted a man who was missing an eye.
Turns out
I dislike him more now.
Yeah, me too.
And he also said the worst movie he made was Boogie Nights, and it's like, now I just hate you.
Yeah, well, he's made a lot of bad films.
Oh, yes.
Okay, and look, this is kind of the centerpiece of today, and I want to ask you guys, you can comment below. I think on Rumble, right, you can comment. Of course, in the Blaze, we'll be taking your chat, but comment. This comes down to the idea of self-defense.
Yeah.
The cops don't have the right to defend themselves. Citizens, when you look at Missouri, don't have the right to defend their own property. Israel doesn't have the right to defend its own citizens from indiscriminate rocket fire. Why do you think that is? Why do you think the left? Because you would look at these scenarios, and you know that they would maybe defend, obviously, well, they do defend Palestine, right, for firing the rockets. They do defend minorities who are shooting at the cops. But why is it when there are clear-cut cases of self-defense being warranted, why do you think the left so vehemently opposes it? And I think that can be answered right now as we move on here to Trevor Noah and his take on Israel and Hamas. And a lot of people thought that this was very thoughtful. So what we're going to do is just roll this clip. I might ask Quarter Black Garrett to pause because I want to show it in its entire context.
Yeah.
I think it crystallizes exactly what the left's thought process is, why it's so it's perverse, and why it's so corrosive. So I want to make sure that we don't miss any context here. Here's Trevor Noah and his enlightening view of Israel and Hamas, because Hamas and Palestine are one and the same.
Israel versus Palestine. And I know that even saying that sentence means I'm losing followers online and I'm on the verge of being blocked on all social media and in life. People are always going to say
depending on how you
that
line
you're
up.
leaving out some crucial piece of context. And you know what the truth is? They're probably right. I mean, there's the history of how Israel became a state after Nazi Germany tried to destroy the Jewish people.
Right.
But there's also the history of the British taking the land from the Palestinians.
Nope. Pause. That's not what happened. There was an international agreement after the UN, by the way. You guys love the UN.
Yeah.
The UN was the one who said, look, they need their own land. This is where we're going to put them because it's not officially a country.
Yeah, by the way, we'll give you guys a state. Anybody around here want to give up some of their land to make them as country? No.
Yeah.
No. Make sure that they're staying as a thorn in the side of the Jews, please.
Wasn't it Helen Thomas who said they should go back to Germany and Poland?
Ooh.
Yeah, these are the solutions from the left. You know, the Jews were a little leery of going back. Like, well, why don't you want to go back there? Because there's a guy who's, and it still makes me uneasy.
It's going to take a while to gain trust again.
So no, it wasn't just taken. This is because the whole view was colonialism. He wants you to think that Israel was colonialism. The British just said, all right, and it was it wasn't agreement. That was a sort of a convention. The UN of people saying they need a place. This is agreed upon. So that right there, in trying to be flippant, he's being dishonest and misleading. Let's keep playing.
That every other country in the region has its own issues and its own agendas. And then on top of all of that is religion involved.
Yeah.
And I don't care what anybody says, man. Religion is the one thing that has never calmed any situation when there's a clash. And you know what makes it even harder? Is the fact that who's right and who's wrong always seems to change depending on when you start measuring time. This week was the perfect example of it. If you start from Israel fired rockets into Gaza, well then Israel is the bad guy because they're bombing Gaza. But then you take a step back in time, you go, well, Hamas fired rockets at Israel.
Yeah.
Well then Hamas is the bad guy.
Correct.
Yeah, stop there.
But then you take a step back and you go, but the Israeli police, they went in and started beating people up in a mosque during Ramadan.
And tell people about the riots and the throwing rocks and the actual trying to attack people
then
there.
Israel is the bad guy.
Yeah.
But then you go, well, the Palestinians.
You have 2 Cable
they
Ace
were
awards
throwing
behind
rocks.
you, Stephen.
Well, the Israelis, they were kicking people out of their homes. Well, the Intifada, Well, Israel keeps
By the way,
taking
pause real
more
quick.
and
He just says that because he clearly knows nothing about the Intifada. He's like, oh, let me just use a word that sounds complicated, and I can just make it seem like no one understands it. No, Trevor Noah, you don't understand it. It's not that no one understands it. It's that you don't understand it. But you're right. I do not have MTV's Greatest Hair Kiss Award
You do not.
behind me.
No Razzies? No, nothing?
No. All right, let's keep playing.
Oh, I jumped to the next one. Sorry.
Nope, come on. Bring it back.
My Peter in Hamas.
In Israel, Hamas rockets have killed 2 people.
Yep.
And this exchange of fire comes after the Israeli assault in and around the Al-Aqsa Mosque that left more than 600 Palestinian protesters,
I love the
worshippers,
architecture.
and civilians wounded. And a few dozen Israeli police. Now, personally, I'm not saying for you, just personally, I cannot watch that footage and hear those numbers and see a fair fight.
Doesn't matter.
Like, set aside motives and intentions and just look at
Don't set aside motives and intentions. Don't set aside right and wrong.
Israel has one of the most powerful militaries in the world.
Good.
They can crush Gaza like that.
That's a good point. And they
Not
don't.
to mention one of the most advanced defense systems in the world. If you shoot a rocket at them, it's probably not going to do anything to them because of their defense
Why do they need that defense system?
Right? They've got a giant Mutombo in the sky just knocking them down.
Why doesn't Hamas use a defense system?
And I know that this is contentious. And I know that people are going to hate me for this. But I just want to ask an honest question here.
Go ahead, and other things.
If you are in a fight where the other person cannot beat you, how hard should you retaliate when they try to hurt you?
Okay, pause real quick.
Yeah.
How much longer is this clip?
It's about a minute and a half.
All right, you know what? Keep playing, but that's the important point I want to get back to.
Yes, it is.
Because the important point here is, but Hamas sucks at war. Israel's good at it, right? So they shouldn't be using the stuff that they're good at. They should let Hamas continually suck at war. So let's continue playing
Can I
this.
say something really important, though?
Yeah.
I realize you're talking about Israel, and I just want to say that my socks say Happy Lamaka. Llama.
It's a llama.
With a turban.
Well, that's also a racial stereotype.
Well, first of all, my Jewish friend gifted them to me, so I think...
There are self-loathing Jews, Dave. All right, let's go.
I've never met a self-loathing Jew.
No, they always want to announce it first thing. We get it, Steenberg. Okay, stop laying it on so thick. Let's go, Trevor Noah.
Honest question. And I ask this question because I think of it like this. When I was a teenager, I would always get into fights with my little brothers. And little kids can be vicious, right? They're trying to punch you in the leg, trying to punch you in the nuts. They're kids, they do that. But my mom would say to me, whenever I get angry, she'd go, Trevor, don't hit the kid back because they can't hurt you. You're a teenager and the kid is 4. And I was like, yeah, but the kid is hitting me. He could hurt me. But my mom was like, yeah, but you're also so much bigger than the kid. You can crush him in an instant.
Must be a small
And please don't get me wrong right now, because I know someone's going to watch this and go like, oh, you're comparing Palestinians to children. No, I'm not doing that. I'm telling a story about myself. Honestly, I am.
Well, then why are you putting
Because
this
what my mom made me
context?
understand is that as a person who has immensely more power, I had to ask myself whether my response to this child was just or necessary. Could I find different ways to deal with this? Whether I felt aggrieved or not, or whether they were fighting fair was almost irrelevant.
Could not
was
be
I even
more
able
relevant.
to ask myself the question about why they were doing what they
Why
did?
did your mom have to
Was I
tell you
willing
not
to
to
admit
beat up
guilt?
a 4-year-old?
Yeah.
This was all part of the question that I had to ask myself. But the main question I ask in this situation is about power.
Okay, that's enough. Stop it. So here's the deal. This is why Trevor Noah. This is let me go here, Dave. This is important. They believe there is no absolute truth except for that of power must be removed and reallocated. And it doesn't matter if it's reallocated to evil people. It doesn't matter. Here's the point. Trevor Noah actually, whether you are pro-Israel or pro-Palestine, Hamas, keep in mind because Hamas was democratically elected, right? Hamas or Palestine is Hamas right now.
Yeah.
Wherever you line up, you still have to acknowledge that is really probably the worst argument one can make. It absolutely is. And he makes an argument against himself saying, look, Israel has one of the most powerful militaries in the world. They could wipe out Gaza in an instant. Right. And instead, they find Hamas military intelligence hubs in the AP and Al Jazeera headquarters, call ahead of time, give them a 30-minute warning, and then level it with no civilian casualties. You're right. They could level the entire Gaza Strip. Right now, if they said, we want the West Bank, there doesn't need to be an agreement. They can take it. They can take it. And they don't. And the analogy that he uses, well, you know, do you really want to use this if someone can't hurt you? Well, you just talked about it. Rockets can hurt people. They still have killed people. Now, the reason that they haven't killed that many people in Israel is because they've developed defensive weaponry, which, by the way, is predicated on the Ronald Reagan, which people tried to label crazy. Star Wars missile defense system. What a crazy person. Well, we'll go do a segment on that tomorrow morning. It's a defensive tool because they lived in constant terror of these people who specifically aim them at Israeli civilians. You're right. Israel could wipe them out. They don't. Let's do this. Let's flip it, okay? If Palestine, if Hamas had the military capability of Israel, do you think for a second they wouldn't level Israel immediately? Now, why would I suspect that that's the case? Well, because unlike with the Israelis, okay, who did not put the eradication of every single last Palestinian into their charter, Hamas did.
Oh, geez.
We have this right here. The Prophet, Allah's prayer and peace be upon him, says, the hour of judgment shall not come until the Muslims fight the Jews and kill them so that the Jews hide behind trees and stones, blah, blah, blah. This is part of Hamas's information that's sent out. By the way, it's not just no Israel, it's no Jews.
Yeah, no matter where they happen to be.
And I told you this story, too, before, and this is what it comes down to. Look, if you could use the same scenario. If you have 15 cops who have long guns, do they really need to shoot a man who has nothing but a car? Well, you know what? It doesn't really matter if there are 15 men with long guns, with long guns, to the one man who gets run over by a truck.
Yeah.
And it certainly doesn't matter to that family, because that guy's dead. And you know what? I am fine with 50,000 evil people dead to save one innocent person, okay? It doesn't. So he says, motivations aside, right? Ideology aside, right and wrong aside, let's just look at who has the power. Israel has a good military. Palestine doesn't. Therefore, Israel must be wrong. This is the same thing that applies with postmodernism to really any. Straight white men have had a lot of power. Rashida Tlaib hasn't. Therefore, straight white men must be wrong. No, that's not true. Black lives matter. Black people in this country at one point were oppressed. Police officers have power. Right now, black people are more likely to be killed by fellow black people, and their fellow black citizens want more, at least as much of a police presence right now to protect them. Doesn't matter. Yeah. Police must be wrong. They believe in no absolute truth, no right or wrong, just there's power, there's an oppressor, and the oppressed. And the oppressor is always the person who's most successful. That's all it is. That's all they can believe, because they want to root for the underdog because they feel so much guilt and shame. And if you look at, don't say, notwithstanding their ideology, notwithstanding what they believe. Well, now you just threw out that Hamas has said, we will eradicate every single last Jew. Now you've just thrown out, motivation notwithstanding, that Israel actually calls in warnings and drops leaflets, and that there are more Palestinians in Israel than there are in areas of Palestine.
Yeah. Well, it's acting like rockets don't kill people. It's acting like firing rockets and having warnings going off and having to run down to bomb shelters is just a minor inconvenience, like being hit by a 4-year-old in the leg.
Right.
Right? By the way, those rockets that they fire, I think this is some kind of justice, unfortunately, for the people who get hit by them, but justice because Hamas sucks. They end up killing more of their own citizens with their rockets because they fall short. They're like the North Korea of rockets.
Well, not only because they fall short, but because they launch them from schools.
Well, they do that too.
They launch them from hospitals. Anyone like Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, Bernie Sanders, these people who support the people of Palestine while they're still under Hamas rule, they're supporting Stockholm Syndrome. Yeah. Right? The people of Palestine, who I know because they hate the Jews so much, they've been brainwashed to hate the Jews so much that they think Hamas is a good thing, and they let them build tunnels underneath their houses, and they let them launch rockets from atop their schools. But it ends up putting them in danger. It's like someone who's it's like Cloverfield Lane, where they're chained to the basement. Yeah. Well, he brings me saltine crackers. Yeah, but he's taken away all your freedom. You're locked up in a basement. So you're actually harming the people of Palestine when people support this. They don't look. This is. Can you imagine? You probably can't imagine. Just try to picture a world where instead of launching rockets from schools and hospitals, using their own citizens as human shields into civilian areas, Hamas was actually launching attacks exclusively at military sites of Israel and warning people.
Yeah.
30 minutes beforehand.
No,
60 minutes sometimes. It never happens. They use their citizens as human shields, and they attack citizens of Israel, not the military. Israel protects its citizens with an Iron Dome, with bomb shelters in every single school and public area, and warns the citizens of Palestine that they're about to attack Hamas. Again, I ask you, let's not take away the motive, because that matters. Because when you're talking about international funding going to unholy allies like Iran, like potentially, we don't know what's going on with Lebanon right now, who want to support Hamas, what if they did have the military capabilities of Israel? You think that the people of Israel would still exist? And by the way, go and tell that I don't know how many people know, dozens of Israelis who were killed by rockets that managed to make it through, surely through volume. I think we're at 4,000 rockets now, over 3,500 I know at this point yesterday. Go and tell their family that, well, Israel shouldn't fight back because it's like a 4-year-old brother. Also, one final note, my little cousin one time, he grabbed a kitchen knife. I told you this. He was 5 years old. He didn't know what it was. He grabbed it and he started coming at me like he did. I kicked him.
Well, you should. By the way, let me just make a comment.
The baby spit on me. I crushed its soft spot.
You said if you ever get into a fight, you're going to make it as swift and violent. Yes. To get it over with. That's what war is. You don't want to go in and just kind of pussyfoot around. We tried that in Vietnam. It doesn't work. You end up killing more people. You go in, you end the conflict as quickly as possible, and you take out the enemy, period.
This is anything in life. You don't fight. The whole bar fights, stupid. A lot of these wars, posturing, stupid. North Korea, stupid. You don't walk up and posture and then push and shove and tit for tat. No. Here's what happens. Everyone needs to draw a line. This is where we talk about red lines, and they do matter in international diplomacy, and they matter in your own life. I have a line that people cannot cross. I am entirely a pacifist outside of that line. Someone wants to tell me I'm a pussy? Okay, fine. Someone wants to tell me I'm gay? Okay. I hate you? All right, fine. Hey, your wife is... You can say whatever you want. I'm not going to... But the second you get into my space and have been warned that you have made me physically unsafe, and you are continuing to threaten or continuing to get physical, it's not going to be a tit for tat and equal force. No. At that point, is self-defense justified? And then as swift, as violent, and as brutal as necessary to stop the threat immediately so that I can get out. That's what war should be. It doesn't matter if you're that much better at it. You only enter into war to win and to end it swiftly. And you know what? You certainly need to do that when you have an elected government, a terrorist government, who believe in the eradication of anyone with a last name that has too many vowels. Okay, Hamas? So it just shows you Trevor Noah has... This is the issue with the left. Oppressors and the oppressed. That's it. No right and wrong.
He had several opportunities to catch himself, too. He even said it. And I know what you're going to say. This is bad because of this. And we're like, yes, you should have. Somebody should have said, Trevor, that's a great point. We should probably not do this segment. Yeah. You've made 6 points against yourself here that are all very valid. Stop.
Listen,
you're pushing a narrative.
Stop trying to prevent me from doing YouTube videos circa 2009. Look, this is how entertainment works. I'm at the cusp.
I'm in a very small New York apartment. How is this The Daily Show?
I'll make $8 million a year in salary. Kill yourself.
I hate America.
Not Trevor. He's saying I want to kill myself.
Hey, before we move on, actually, I have something from the Blaze chat. Just reminding people, we'll take your chats at the end of the show on Blaze. But a fan, we're trying to get who the person's name was. But they pointed out something pretty interesting about this picture. So remember this, we just showed this video of Biden looking all badass, driving off in the electric car. Do you notice anything?
Well, so that looks like it might not... I can't see because it's on a small monitor.
Well, look at the passenger seat. No. No mask.
Baby. Look at that passenger seat.
Oh, there's somebody in the...
Oh, there's a driving wheel in the second wheel. Oh, my gosh.
Oh, my God.
I thought it was a reflection.
It's not a reflection? Is it?
No,
are we sure that's an actual second steering?
It's a test car.
There was a second steer.
It looks like a test car.
It is a test car because it's also wrapped.
And I will say, actually, the torque made his head go back and to the left.
To the left. Back? It seems like a top-down day, doesn't it?
There was a sign that said, caution, retarded driver.
When we get that fan's name, we'll get the
slow kids behind the wheel.
Yes, if we get your name, we're going to send you some merch. That's good. That is unbelievable. Look,
good eye.
There would be no reason for there to be a second. He's going in a straight line on the salt flats.
Like a tarmac.
If he blew all 4 tires, he would spin into nothing.
That's because everybody who are high-ups at the company were like, who's going to drive this?
No, let's put another wheel in there.
Somebody who can ease it.
That's the only reason it wasn't Tesla. They're like, hey, Elon. And he's like, wait, who's going to drive it? Joe Biden? That'll be a disaster. And don't want to kill anybody, so no.
They stopped putting those in cars in like the 80s, but for him. Yeah, for like
That's the last time he was able to pass a driver's license.
For sure.
Hey, can you read these bottom 4 letters? Look, there's only one, okay? There's only one. It's a giant U. Just say you. Come on. I don't need, man. Just say you, and I'll give you your driver's license.
Who?
Huh?
How far do you stop from train tracks? Going Pop was from the wrong side of the track.
From the wrong side of the track?
That reminds me of a story.
Just from the wrong side of the tracks. It's Amy's Diner. Straight from the shoulder. You know, the thing.
Hip-hop shop stuff.
Yeah. All right, so,
you know the thing.
by the way, these shirts are all available at CrowderShop.com. CrowderShop.com.
You gotta get an Ahoy one rockin'.
We do have to get an Ahoy one rockin'. CrowderShop.com. You can support us. Go to CrowderShop.com. Buy some merch right now while we are banned from YouTube.
The best way.
Of course, you can listen to the podcast on audio. That's on Apple. That's on Android. It's on Spotify. That's a great place. We've never been removed from there. Never had any shows removed, of course, because there are no violations at all. You know, anyone who watches the show, it's a PG-13. And thank you to Rumble. Right now, we are archiving this on Rumble. Hopefully, we have the live streaming going up. And of course, look, it's a live show. If you want to watch this, the best thing you can do right now, even when we're not on YouTube, Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern, we are live streaming at Mug Club, loudwithcrowder.com/Mug Club, and you always get an additional hour of show.
Yeah, is there still more of that limited edition Fight Like Hell shirt? That was pretty cool.
Yeah, there's plenty. Yeah, I think so. Or we're gonna keep printing more because right now people are buying them like hotcakes.
That's not limited edition.
Oh, and share this show because sharing is caring. So hit that little share button.
Just like
can't do it. It's YouTube.
It's
YouTube branded.
All right.
How the sound.
So really, can we with Rosenberg? Is he okay if we bring him in a little bit later?
It should be. Yeah, I'm talking to Darren.
Okay, just make sure. Yeah, it's fine because we do have to bring in Crypto Kevin here.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So let me brief because I hate cryptocurrency stuff. It bores me to tears. Well, because I don't understand it, and neither do you. You can all act like you do.
That's true.
But you don't really.
You're taking the Bill Maher stance on this, which might come back to bite you.
Well, look, I know. I understand it.
You
but
don't understand an unregulated stock market of invented money?
Right.
You mean like currency for most countries?
Exactly. That's what I mean.
When I say I don't understand it, I mean that there's a lot of shenanigans, a lot of tomfoolery at play, but also the people who say that they know that crypto is going to go up. They're just like people who buy stocks, right? Look, overall, you buy the market, you diversify your portfolio, you double your money every 10 years. It's nothing new. You can try and roll the dice on a specific crypto, but you all know that you don't know. And if you don't know, now you know. You know? So,
I was waiting for the biggie.
Yeah, that's what I was going for.
So DarkSide, I guess they received a total of $90 million in Bitcoin before shutting down. They were the hackers who shut down the Colonial Pipeline, and this caused panic and gas lines across the country. Which just the last time gas lines happened like this, just so happened to coincide with a similar President Jimmy Carter. It's all happenstance, folks. But here is just to remind you the media panic.
This line for gas is crazy. Crazy.
It's an open field.
Is that Michigan?
There's a line there.
It looks like it could be the Midwest.
I don't know. Where was this recent?
Yeah. This is recent
all
last
up and
week.
down the eastern seaboard.
Yeah, all up and down the eastern seaboard. And it's going to be worse in Michigan if Whitmer has her way. She wants to shut down that pipeline through Canada.
It does.
But even the liberal Canadian government was like, wait a moment, come on, wait, stop.
Hold up.
Hey,
Who can a boot?
And of course, Jennifer Granholm, one of your favorites.
Yeah, I love her.
Yeah, Jennifer Granholm said, don't worry, all is well, a la Kevin Bacon in Animal House.
It's not that we have a gasoline shortage.
Yes, it is.
It's that we have this supply crunch. And that things will be back to normal soon.
So the story, allegedly, to pay back for the Colonial Pipeline, they paid DarkSide like a $5 million ransom. There's some reports on what?
Because she has the trash pipeline coming from Canada into Michigan. If we could just make cars that run on garbage, we'll be fine.
Let's do that.
I'm letting them dump all of our trash in Michigan.
I've seen Back to the Future too. It works.
Come on. So, and there's been speculation that Bitcoin has been seized by the government. And look, I don't fully understand all of this, and a lot of people, certainly your eyes glaze over. So we have our resident expert to explain this for us. Is a segment with Crypto Kevin. All right, Kevin's Crypto Corner. Kevin,
cool.
Thank you for being here,
thanks
sir.
for having me. This place is great.
Yeah, cool.
One of these for my show.
Yeah, for your show? Good. You do a show.
Yep.
It's crypto.
Markets and crypto.
So explain to us, for people who don't necessarily know, your background, with cryptocurrency. What makes you a...
Well, crypto, I got into it early. Sold my crypto 2017.
Okay.
Yeah, I bought my Lambo then.
Oh.
So, yeah. I mean, today is one of those days when this is... kind of feel vindicated. This is exactly why, people are like, oh, Kevin, why didn't you hold your Bitcoin for like 2 more years? You could be set for life.
Because it's down right now. It's like
this is exactly why. I know I can't give financial advice, but for life advice, as soon as you can afford a Lambo, you buy one.
You buy, okay.
Right. That's pretty solid.
I mean, who has a Lambo now?
Right,
market's tanked.
You
50%. I still have my.
So it's a sign you must be doing well, then across the board.
Yeah, I mean, it's still normal expenses. I still have student debt and those things.
Yeah,
but
the Lambo.
When the market, got my boys out there buying the dip right now.
Yeah.
When the market goes back up, I'll probably pay off some of the debt.
Dip, dude.
Yeah.
Buying the dip.
Diamond hands.
You buy the dip?
Oh, I bought the dip.
Yeah, we're all buying
Smart.
the
Yeah, you guys know quite a bit actually. Yeah.
Just call me Copenhagen. Because that's how much dip I buy.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. Do you have any other
I got some
information?
facts.
Because you're a resident crypto expert.
The first time I'm on, might be good to start with the early history.
Okay. Well,
so we got number one crypto fact. Nobody actually knows who's invented Bitcoin or started it.
Really?
Yeah, it goes by a pseudonym, Satoshi Nakamoto.
Yeah. Okay. But that's not
no one's verified it.
Could be multiple people even.
Could be multiple people. Yeah, no one's actually been able to figure out who it is.
Oh, yeah. I thought it was like a Japanese video game developer.
Some people think they might have been based in Japan or maybe an expat living in Japan, but no one can really nail it.
Okay, so that's entirely unhelpful. All right, give us some more information.
Well, and so this guy Satoshi, probably not a girl, but yeah.
Well, we don't know.
You don't want to stereotype.
So Satoshi mined the first Bitcoin in 2009. That's kind of when it all started.
Well, yeah.
Cool. The first transaction involving Bitcoin for a real-world good was 2010.
Okay.
When some programmer guy in Florida named Laszlo Hanyek, he paid 10,000 Bitcoin for only 2 pizzas. Yeah, which I rate as probably one of the worst Bitcoin transactions of all time.
Really? Yeah.
If you would have held, if old Pizza Hands would have held 2 more years, or held till, now, you'd have about $500 million.
So,
or as I like to say, about 1,000 Lamborghini Aventadors.
Yeah, okay. Lamborghini.
That's the model.
That's the model that you use. Yeah, it seems.
I don't know if you guys saw it out back.
Right. Well, it's something that's hard currency.
Some cars block the view
that appreciate.
The car that I hit pulling in. Yeah.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
And he got out and threw up on it.
That's right.
It was the paint job.
It was like White from The Office.
It was just from seething hatred.
Yeah.
All right, give us some. Is that about all you have there?
Well, I got. Let's see here. Yeah, so I actually have a lower third for coins. Yeah, coins Kevin likes.
Coins Kevin likes.
So this is again, this is not financial advice, but
no,
these
that would be illegal.
Yeah, these are the coins I'm just into. What I'm feeling.
That you're feeling.
So
vibe.
First of all is. I know it's called coins Kevin likes, but the first one is one I'm not so hot on.
Oh no.
And that is Bitcoin itself. Right
okay.
Now.
Okay.
I mean, even though it's tanked, Bitcoin's still really expensive. I don't have any more. I sold mine.
Yeah.
Hard to buy more of them.
Right.
And it's kind of slow. Transaction-wise, it's kind of slow and clunky.
Right.
Bitcoin's ironically the opposite of a Lamborghini.
Right.
In the crypto world.
That makes sense. So I understand why. Yeah.
And now what I am into, which is the crypto equivalent of a Lamborghini, is Digibyte. Right?
Digibyte?
Yeah, this one's kind of a sleeper. Digibyte's really fast.
Yeah.
Energy efficient. If you think climate change is real or whatever.
That's one of the big problems right now. That's why it's
that's what they say. Elon's out there.
It's not very green.
Yep.
Crypto. Okay.
But that's a fast one. Good to get into if you're new.
Okay.
And
you're into it?
Yep.
And what are you planning on doing with it?
Paying off debt, student debt.
What about Stellar Lumens? Are you into that?
Yeah, that's actually, you seem to know quite a bit.
Yeah,
no, he doesn't.
It's a great coin, so yeah.
He doesn't.
Kevin, do you spell your name with an H?
Yeah, Kevin, yeah.
Did you buy it after the H after you got
Yeah.
No, it's
always been with an H.
Yeah, it's always been with an H.
This was predictable then. Yeah.
So then, for the next, I wanted to get into NFTs, but I think we don't have that much time today. Next segment, we will get into NFTs, and I had my people talking to your people.
Yeah.
And we're going to set you up with some what we call Lambo buyers.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we're going to get you. Yeah,
Might
maybe
you get a Lambo, bro?
potentially you could get a Lambo. Yeah, we'll set you guys up with.
Well, your people were actually talking to an
But NFTs, that's the new hottest.
Okay, it's the new hottest. Well, look, have your people, again, call that same number. And
we'll set you up.
Yeah, I'm glad that you guys converse with the answering machine. All right, Crypto Kevin, thank you very much. Crypto Kevin's Corner. All right, okay.
Priorities all out of order.
Entirely unhelpful.
Crypto just shows how all money is pretend and can be
exactly
taken away at any moment.
And how words can just be changed, because mining used to mean something.
Well, now it means you got a little machine that uses energy to make fake things.
Make fake things. You know what? Look,
Everything's fake
if you
now.
wanted to claim to be a miner, you earned it with black lung.
That's right.
Yes.
And if
You
you
died
dead
young.
canaries, you tried to build a rocket, and your dad would say, "Damn it, Homer, with you and these stupid things."
There's prospectors that never even saw electricity.
Exactly. All right, I'm actually really happy to have our next guest now. Some of you may be unfamiliar with this next guest, but is an unbelievable authority on the subject of Israel, Hamas, Palestine, and I'm glad to have him. You can go to his personal website, joelrosenberg.com, where his 19 books are available. Some would say that's a little self-important, but he knows what he's talking about. Let's hit the stinger to bring on Joel Rosenberg. All right, and the next book is Enemies and Allies, to be released September 2021. Can be pre-ordered at the website. Mr. Rosenberg, are you there, sir?
I am, Stephen. How are you?
I am doing okay, sir. Thank you for asking. You know, this is a pretty crazy time here in this country. I wanted to ask you first, for people who aren't...
Crazy too, I must say.
Well, where are you right now?
Israel.
Well, I'm in Jerusalem. We've got 3,700 rockets inbound over the last 10 days. So I'm not sure what's exactly going on in your neck of the woods, but I think we can top it at least this week. Maybe.
Well, you know what? I got a hangnail. Let me ask you.
We all have our problems.
We all have our problems. So Jerusalem. So that's the former capital of Israel. How does that work now with the new administration?
The eternal. I think you may have missed. You jumbled some letters.
Yeah.
Eternal capital of the state of Israel. Yes.
But I mean, how is it? Obviously, Donald Trump was the first. Well, okay. Before we get to that, tell people your background. You've advised many presidents, heads of state, international leaders on Israel and on sort of this conflict in the Middle East. You're a scholar on the issue. Give people a little bit, for people who don't know your background, because obviously the attack right now on anyone who expresses an opinion that they don't like is, well, that's not an authoritative source. Let people know who you are, what you're about.
Okay. Well, I was born and raised in the United States, though 7 years ago, my wife and family and I, our 4 sons, we moved to Israel and we became dual U.S.-Israeli citizens. Dual. So that means we get to vote twice. It's like living in Chicago. And that's the first thing. So now, 21 years ago, I served as an aide to then former Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu. I worked with him for several months as a communications aide, advisor, and he did not come back. I was on his comeback campaign team. He'd been the Prime Minister. He'd lost his re-election. He wanted to come back. He didn't do it. He didn't go forward with me.
Right.
9 years later, he did become Prime Minister again, and he's our Prime Minister today. I'm not close to him. I am close to his team.
Okay.
Over the years, as you mentioned, I've written a number of nonfiction books about the Middle East, as well as political thrillers. Most are New York Times bestsellers. And some of those books have been read by world leaders, senior Israeli leaders, the King of Jordan, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, and so forth.
Right.
And at various times, they've invited me to come and sit with them and talk to them. The book you referenced, which comes out September 7th, Enemies and Allies, actually takes you into exclusive interviews. It's the first book of its kind, not only with the senior Israeli leadership, but in the Oval Office with Trump, Pence, Pompeo, as well as almost all of the Arab leaders.
You acted as an advisor for President Trump, and of course for I know President George W.
I wouldn't say advisor. No, I mean that would be too far. I'm just saying that many of these folks are reading the books and they have asked for input on the peace process and so forth. But I don't want to go too far. It's informal at best.
He's written children's books too, very well. Horton Hears a Jew. Oh. Wonderful. People love it. So let me ask you this. Right now, you just said 3,700 rockets? Is that what you said? Because this time yesterday it was 3,500. Is it 3,700 now, you said?
Over that, but yes.
Over 3,700 rockets right now fired into Israel, and you're there. Let me ask you on a personal level first, what's that like, being in Israel as those rockets? I mean, or do you not really feel them because most of them are taken out with the Iron Dome? And what's it like living under that? Because a lot of people don't understand, the attacks, for example, when Israel targets Gaza, and this was international news, right? They target a military intel there at the AP and the Al Jazeera building. But it is not a constant barrage of completely just aimless rockets at any civilian targets. That's the threat that Israeli citizens live under every day. What's that like? I mean, you chose to live there.
Yeah. Well, it's hellish. You have millions of Israelis, almost half the country right now, are living in bomb shelters. And the reason is because depending on exactly where you live in proximity to the Gaza Strip, which is to the south west of us, you have between 15 and maybe 45 seconds to get to your bomb shelter once the air raid sirens go off. Hamas and Islamic Jihad usually fire a burst of 20, 30, 50, sometimes over 100 at the same time.
Right.
So again, you are running for a bomb shelter all the time unless you just live in it. Right. Now, you live in Jerusalem, and so the distinction there is there were 7 fired at us on the first night, Monday night, a week and a half ago. But we haven't had any more here in Jerusalem since. We've had riots. We've had all kinds of trouble here.
Right. Let me ask you really quickly. I hate to cut you off, but I'm going to have to do that a little bit just because you need to know that not a lot of people know exactly the ins and outs. So if I interrupt you, I apologize. But you said 7 were fired first day. Were those 7 aimed at specifically military targets or just fired indiscriminately into Jerusalem?
You were right when you just said they don't have guidance systems. These are not precision munitions. So it's like taking a bottle rocket out in your backyard and aiming it at your neighbor's house. You might hit it, you might break a window, but you might not.
Right.
But these are bigger, of course, but they don't, and they have munitions, but they don't have guidance systems.
Right.
So it is a game of Russian roulette.
It's just launch them, and good enough is good enough. That's basically what they're doing.
Well, that's right. Look, the goal of Hamas and Islamic Jihad are stated in their founding documents.
Right.
It's to annihilate Israel. It's to kill as many Jews as humanly possible.
Right.
So we know what their goals are, and this is pure terror. They're not aiming for military targets because they don't know how.
Right.
What they're aiming for are our apartment buildings, our elementary schools, our synagogues, our churches, our factories. They're trying to terrify Israelis and shut down our economy.
So I'm going to throw some harder questions at you here because I'm trying to think of the strongest argument that the Rashida Tlaibs and these people of the world will make right now.
Sure.
Because everyone, obviously, who's really, you have kids, I was just talking about this, who if they're 16, 20 years old, their entire life, Israel and Palestine, Hamas, have been in conflict on any given year to varying degrees, except for a period of about 3 years under Donald Trump. And they may not know why. And right now the justification thrown out is that Israel started this conflict by beating down rioters, protesters, obviously at a mosque, and they were evicting people from the West Bank, bulldozing houses. And so that's what led to the Palestinian elected authority, Hamas, defending themselves. Why did we go 3 years with no conflict, right? That's more of a geopolitical question. And what started this incredible conflict here? What's the starting point? Because that seems to be the debate with a lot of people.
Okay, let's parse this out. Not to be too humorous, but you'd have to go back to Cain and Abel for how it started.
Right.
But yes. We'll bring it up to current, okay? So actually, the West Bank is not the major issue right now. The Palestinian Authority is corrupt. It's horrible. Everybody wants Mahmoud Abbas, the president, to leave. But they're not the issue right now because 15 years ago, roughly, the Gaza Strip, which is physically separate from the West Bank, was taken over by the Hamas terrorist organization. The West Bank, under the Palestinian Authority, look, they're corrupt and they're troublemakers, but they're not hostile. They're not physically firing at us with machine guns or rockets.
Right.
Hamas is. Okay, so there's a distinction. The second thing that's important to know is under President Trump, Trump made several things super clear. First, there was absolutely no daylight between the United States and Israel. You mess with Israel, you're messing with the United States, and Trump would push back hard.
Right.
He cut funding to the Palestinian Authority because they were funding Hamas, and a whole series of actions.
Not to mention Iran, right? That's a huge component here.
Yeah, exactly. Then who is really driving this current conflict? It's Iran. Iran is the one that supplies the rockets, the missiles, the money, and the direction for Hamas and Islamic Jihad. So because Trump was tough on Iran and was cutting off their Iran's money flow, not just cryptocurrency, but massive sanctions.
Yeah.
Iran was getting crippled and didn't feel like they wanted to mess with Trump.
Right. Well, Hamas wouldn't know what to do with Dogecoin, and if they had a bunch of it, they wouldn't have the computers to plug it in. But let me ask you this. What would right now Hamas, the Palestinians, say right now is the reason for this conflict, right? They're saying, well, we didn't attack unprovoked, and it was about, some people say it was a protest, some people say it was the evictions, which I'm trying to...
Four families.
Okay.
4 families who hadn't paid rent for 70 years.
Oh.
And the courts finally said, listen, there's a new owner, and that owner in Israel does want their rent. So if you pay the rent, you can stay. But otherwise, your time is run out. 70 years is fairly patient.
Okay. So that's a big thing. They try and say they were displaced.
And it was in the courts.
Right.
And so and yes, there were riots up on the Temple Mount, and the police did have to go stop those riots up there. How did they start? They started because Hamas and other terror groups told a bunch of young Palestinian Muslim men, go stockpile rocks and bricks and pieces of concrete in the Al-Aqsa Mosque, one of the holiest for Muslims. And then on the day of one of Israel's high, holidays, nationally, not religiously, Jerusalem Day, throw these rocks and bricks down onto the heads of Jewish worshipers who are worshiping at the Western Wall, our most holy site.
Right.
This is like Portland, this is Seattle, this is Minneapolis, but rather than defunding our police, we had to send our police in.
Yeah.
It's not that we want to, but we were being baited.
Right.
But what else can you do? You can't allow chaos. I mean, you could, but we shouldn't.
Well, and this is also something important. We just ran Trevor Noah's
things that are fairly small in our neck of the woods,
right.
But they use them as a pretext to unleash 37.
Well, I think there are a few things that are illuminating for a lot of people. And sorry, that's why I was kind of trying to dig down into that. Is a lot of people go, look, these people are being just evicted. The Jews are coming and well, no, look, it's a bit different if you take the context that this is land owned by someone they're refusing to pay rent. There are a lot of parallels here right now, freeze rent. Well, what if once the pandemic is over, say, okay, now it's time to pay rent. Someone says no, doesn't do it for 70 years. Do they just get to live there? This is an issue that's important. When we talk about what was going on, throwing rocks at Jews, this is an example. Trevor Noah was just talking about how much more effective the Israeli military is than Hamas. Okay, understood. If Hamas had the capabilities of the Israeli military, we probably wouldn't be on a Skype right now. This would look like Superman's dad, like Kal-El's apartment, right? This would just be a bunch of glass. So, that being said, if someone is killed with a rock on the head, which happens all the time, it doesn't matter that that's a more rudimentary, that that's a less sophisticated weapon to that person's family. That person is dead. It's an intent to kill somebody. And I think people need to take this into context because they go, well, they only had rocks. Well, if you had rocks and you were deliberately fighting someone with a gun, okay, I understand at that point. But if you took rocks and you were trying to lob them down at someone's head who wasn't in any kind of military conflict, it doesn't matter that the cop who showed up now has a gun. My friend here, actually, really brilliant in theology, Gerald Morgan, and also really excited for you to be on the show, I think had a question.
Gerald? Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Very nice to meet you. Look, I'm a little bit floored by this because I've been watching CNN. I've been scouring news sites trying to find the information that you just basically laid out very easily, saying, look, it's 70 years past due rent that that, by the way, shouldn't have even had to go through a court case, but okay, you guys were bending over backwards yet again. How does it make you feel when you watch CNN and they say basically the Jewish police go into the Al-Aqsa Mosque and start kind of beating up protesters? There's 600 people there that they go after. How does that make you guys feel?
Well, I'm 54 years old, and I got to tell you, I only have two choices. I can either be ballistic, screaming mad, or what I decided to do instead of that, though that's my instinct, is to start a website called All Israel News, and we are providing the exact type of coverage, analysis, context. We're interviewing Palestinians. We're providing the whole context, and we're linking at allisrael.com, the All Israel News site, to news stories in the area that we think are credible. So it's, I don't want to say Drudge because Drudge is gone completely. I don't know what happened to Drudge, God bless him. But anyway, we are doing original, exclusive stories, but we're also linking to the key stories because of this extreme media bias. Last week, CNN spent 4 minutes in prime time on a conflict where America's #1 Middle Eastern ally was being fired at that point 2,000 rockets. How does that not cover, Eric, at least 5 minutes, maybe 6?
They were too busy talking about cops being.
Yeah, just saying.
They were too busy talking about how cops are racist. Hey, hold on. I want to continue this interview where we can obviously go completely gloves off. This is the time where if we were still on YouTube, we would tell YouTube, thank you very much, but it's time for you to go urinate outwards. We're going to continue. For people who are following, you can go to joelrosenberg.com and pre-order.